My name is Henry Evans. I am a mute quadriplegic speaking to you from my bed in Northern California. I had a stroke 12 years ago, which is why I sound like this. About a year ago, I gave a TED Talk with Dr. Chet Jenkins of Brown University called Robots for Humanity, in which we described how technology helps everyone overcome the disabilities that evolution left us with. For example, neither you nor I can fly like a bird, so we both use assistive devices called airplanes. And using assistive devices doesn't make either of us less human. Today I will expand on that concept, and describe how 5 different robotic technologies can be used to allow the disabled or bedridden to experience the world again. Think back 100 years. Technological advances, like the airplane and the automobile, were rapidly changing our perceptions of time and space. Now fast forward a century. New technologies are once again changing our perception. This time it is the disabled like me, the elderly, and those people who are otherwise unable to travel who are benefiting from technological breakthroughs, as we are once again being given the opportunity to participate in mainstream society. By virtue of remote presence devices, I was recently able to effortlessly travel all over the world while I was lying in bed. This represents both a remarkable technological achievement and a significant leveling of the social playing field for bedridden people. Let me introduce the first type of device by describing how I happened upon it as a direct result of our last TED Talk. Shortly after it was published, we were asked to speak to members of the U.S. House of Representatives. I was driving the robot around the hotel in Maryland when it occurred to me that I could just as easily be driving through the Smithsonian Institution, or any other museum in the world for that matter. Now, I am old enough to realize that if my ideas are any good, someone else has already thought of them. So I googled museum robots, and happily learned that they were indeed being experimented with at the National Museum of Australia, the Tech Museum in London, and the Computer History Museum in Silicon Valley. The result is a teletour of famous museums which I have taken from my bed in Palo Alto during the past year, which I would like to share with you now. Our first brief stop is the Computer History Museum in Silicon Valley, where you can see Manvis and I posed in front of one of the world's first mechanical computers. Manvis is a quadriplegic who joined me from his home in Lithuania. He also operates the robot with his head. In fact, quite a few other quadriplegics, often from other continents, have participated. Since there's no jet lag with telepresence, let's pop over to South Dakota to visit the National Museum of Music. When using beams, we were literally able to wander freely around the museum, using our head movements to drive. We didn't even run anybody over. We were able to talk to the tour guide, learn about the exhibits, and listen to some demonstrations. This is some film of me in the National Music Museum in South Dakota listening to Dr. Cleveland Johnson play an ancient pipe organ. From South Dakota we beam into the Smithsonian Museum for Native American Culture.
I want to share a song with you, Henry.
And given a brief history lesson.
The woman up front, her name is Polly Cooper. She was an important leader at this time.
I figured that as long as we were in Washington, D.C. visiting Smithsonian's, we might as well pay a visit to my childhood favorite, the Air and Space Museum, pictured here in front of the Capitol. Let's peek in on the beginning of our tour.
Be able to bring the Smithsonian all the way across the country and have your input as well. So we're going to walk around. We're going to start at the beginning, as they say. We're going to start with the Wright Brothers. And of course, just feel free to interrupt with any questions that you have along the way.
We had a wonderful tour, seeing giant rocket engines and taking the obligatory photograph with our tour guide in front of the lunar landing mural. But besides looking at various historically significant rockets and airplanes, we also experienced some of the social aspects of the beam. The museum was crowded that day, and we were mobbed by curious onlookers like these enthusiastic school children.
What state are you from?
After the Air and Space Museum, we visited the nearby Kennedy Center and attended the National Symphony Orchestra. Since the powers that be would not let us film the actual orchestra playing, what you see here is a tour they gave us of the orchestra's stage earlier in the day. I saw the magnificent pipe organ with the choir stand and the wonderful harp. They even let me stand next to the conductor's podium and gaze out into the concert hall. They pointed out President Obama's suite, which was right in the center rear. The social aspects of the being can't be overestimated. Famous museums in San Francisco, Washington, D.C., Chicago, London, England, New York, St. Petersburg, and Paris have expressed an interest in installing remote presence devices. This isn't just an idea. It's happening now. Now, museum robots are great, but they must be on a smooth surface. If the bedridden person wants to join their family on a picnic, they need something else. The second type of device sits on the shoulder of someone you want to remotely visit. Hence the name Poly. And swivels around in many directions under remote control by the user. It can be used by the bedridden to accompany and converse with friends and family on excursions. You hear what they hear and see what they see. Let's watch. Poly is currently a functional prototype.
We'll start walking and you tell us where you want to go and stop.
We've already discussed two types of land-based telepresence devices. But as we gaze at our planet, we see that there is much more to explore. Consider the white film that surrounds the Earth, which is our atmosphere. To explore this remotely requires drones. Since our last TED Talk focused heavily on drones, today I'll just update you on our recent progress. After Dr. Jenkins posted his long-distance remote control drone software on the web, a group in Australia successfully downloaded it, so I was able to chase my host around the stage after my speech near Symphony from my bed in California.
One more time.
In a separate drone project, Georgia Tech vastly improved the code to fly a drone with the Oculus Rift virtual reality headset, so that I can fly around my yard, as shown here, steering with my head. This code is also open source. That is, free for everyone. One drawback of live drones, however, is they require ground crews. Luckily, I was recently made aware of a website, travelbydrone.com, that allows you to select from over 5,000 drone videos from around the world anytime you want. Perfect for the tele-tourist. In fact, let's pop in on Azerbaijan via drone right now. Wait a minute. Didn't I just say we could go anywhere we wanted in the whole world? What are we waiting for? Let's take our drone to the Four Seasons in Bora Bora. For the fourth means of tele-tourism, let's take another look at our planet. As we all know, water covers most of the Earth. So what would the teletourist do without a web-controlled submarine? Luckily, I found one in Berkeley, California, and piloted it around to test a tank while I was lying in bed in Palo Alto. For the fifth and final form of teletourism, let's return to a view of the Earth. We have covered land, sea and air, so what is left? Why, space, of course. And the International Space Station. I recently happened upon this article, which announces that a research team is trying to enable browser control of the robot on the space station by anyone with a PC. Provided you can get NASA's approval, that is. Since a round-trip ticket on the Russian Soyuz currently costs $70 million, it is no wonder NASA is looking at telepresence. I have not finagled my way into a visit yet, but don't bet against me. Some people have even suggested that telepresence is the new standard for accessibility and should be mandated for all public buildings. So if you know any elderly or bedridden people, tell them that soon they will be able to travel the world anytime they want. In fact, some museum robots are available now. Please join us in making the whole world accessible once again to bedridden, elderly and underprivileged people with this exciting new technology. Help us spread the word. Thank you.